They will have first pick, and that gives Fnatic the Radiant side as well as the ability to pick up that double combo. I say double combo, the combo pickups with that first and second pickup.
Yep, so the Visage going to be banned away. Fnatic not going to mess around with that one. That was obviously their big shortfalling. Virtus Pro went for the first pick Visage, and then Fnatic ended up trying to get the Drone Ranger. Wow, they're actually going to ban away the Drone Ranger as well. Now, Virtus Pro is one of the few teams that is actually willing to run the Drone Ranger without the Visage. So I guess that can be a plausible ban. I mean, in my mind, I would have just banned away the Drone Ranger in that case, but I guess Visage is still very powerful support to be sure. Virtus Pro, not a big surprise.
It was the combo they ran the offlane. It was the Winter Wyvern as well as the Visage together, which basically was going to win with any other hero that was on that bottom lane.
Yeah, those
and I think that's what they're more concerned about.
Those are two supports that excel at being able to fight.
10 seconds
usually, I mean, not right away, but they are incredibly powerful at like anywhere from like level 5 to level 10. That period of time is usually where they're most dominant. So Virtus Pro, not a big surprise. They're going to get the Leshrac, and of course the Gyrocopter is going to be on the other side of the table. Winter Wyvern once again picked up by Virtus Pro. I don't think that's terribly surprising either. They've shown that they have, I mean, okay, all you really have to say is look what FNG's portrait is. It's a Winter Wyvern. Okay, you have to understand these guys are really good with this hero. They excel with the Winter Wyvern where, like I was actually talking to Hanskin, right, in our cast, and I talked about how they left the Disruptor open to Virtus Pro. That's one of the few supports that I think Virtus Pro don't actually play very well, but they make up for it in their Winter Wyvern play. So it's really good if you actually understand the teams and what level they play. There's some of their supports. You can kind of leave a Disruptor out there, but you can't afford to leave a Winter Wyvern open in the 3-4. You have to force them to take it in the 1-2.
Yeah, but I don't think VP is going to be too scared about this anyway. Like, you got a Leshrac and a Winter Wyvern. They couldn't feel any more comfortable with their first two heroes. And yeah, you gave Gyrocopter over to Fnatic. But the problem is with Gyro, he's going to dish out all of this early damage, and Winter Wyvern's just going to put whichever target's getting focused under. So you got ways to get yourself out and away from the initiation of Fnatic. The Rubik pickup for me is one of these ones where, like, I can understand Fnatic going for it. He's not a bad synergy with the Gyrocopter, but picking him up in the first two is a little bit more unusual.
Turn to ban.
Yeah, I mean, he has, I guess they already know he's going to have some great abilities to steal. Like anything out of Leshrac is strong, and obviously anything out of most of the supports is going to be pretty good, especially like Winter Wyvern is not a bad steal for sure. Like Cold Embrace as well as Winter's Curse are both really strong abilities to steal. Potentially you can grab Arctic Burn, which is okay as well. In the meantime though, our second set of bans, Fnatic, I really like the ban from Virtus Pro, the taking away the Pugna, which we saw run rather successfully by Fnatic just yesterday, transitioning that one position Pugna into a support. We see the power of the change Pugna, who's now able to use his life drain to heal up allies. That was an incredible factor for their last game, one of the primary reasons they won, as well as the natural Broodmother in the second phase ban. Meanwhile, Fnatic actually banned away the Slark and the Clockwork. So the Clockwork I can go back and forth on. DK Phobos does play a really good Clockwork, I suppose. I personally would have been good with them having a Clockwork because you have a Rubik and a Gyrocopter. Laning phase wise, they can dump on the Clockwork pretty easily. But
yeah, they could. But I'm wondering too if Fnatic is looking at VP with this Witchdoctor pickup, and if they're wondering if VP is going to get up in their faces again. If you can run that Winter Wyvern and Witchdoctor on that bottom lane, again we're into that position where it's just a +1, and you're probably going to find an opening on whoever is down there. The easiest stun setup isn't really there because the Witchdoctor Paralyzing Casket won't be guaranteed, but you might be able to get something else out of the other core. And with the Lina pickup with the Rubik, I'm wondering also where Lina now ends up. Do you throw the Lina up against the Leshrac? Do you play more like Virtus Pro as well as NIP do, where they run that core mid Lina?
I don't believe so. I believe they're going to be running support Lina. I think this is actually one of the best positions to put Ketchigimba, where because he's an experienced core player, if you can get a support that is actually able to potentially get enough farm that he takes over the game, like Lina, like you're pairing it up with a Rubik, so it's an easy light strike array. If he gets enough kills, all of a sudden he's getting a Yule Scepter, maybe an Aghanim Scepter, and all of a sudden he takes over the game as a 4 position. So I think that's one of the best places to have Ketchigimba. I think one of the go-to heroes right now. maybe it's a little bit too greedy against Winter Wyvern and Bounty Hunter, plus the Leshrac in the laning phase. But I would actually look to one of the strongest heroes on the side of Fnatic, the SF, which has still not been banned away, as a nice round-out hero to finish up. I mean, they would have a very well-rounded lineup at that point. They've got pretty damn good early game, great team fight in the mid game, and they also have late game, obviously, in the Gyrocopter SF. I think that's kind of everything you need. The question is, are you prepared to deal with the early pressure that you're going to feel in that middle lane with two very good roaming heroes in Winter Wyvern and Bounty Hunter, as well as a strong lane dominator with the Leshrac?
Well, I actually asked you the question, should they even be worried about the Bounty Hunter? You got a Bounty Hunter in with a Witch Doctor, a Wyvern, as well as a Leshrac. So this bounty has to be a 3-position bounty. This has to be Phobos moving on to that Bounty Hunter. So his roaming out the lane is only going to happen if you force him completely out of bot lane.
I mean, you take a look at the lane he's facing up against, a Rubik, Gyrocopter, Lina. That's a super dangerous lane. I don't mind them getting something that is going to move out of lane fairly early on. So I would have said Earthshaker, Bounty Hunter, either that or like some sort of full-time jungler, just because I don't think you can get one of those heroes such as Beastmaster to go into that off lane and say, good luck. You know, it's just too dangerous a lane. He's going to die too many times. So Fnatic, they banned away the anti-mage. Not quite the hero I was actually expecting. It is a hero that jumps out to the Gyrocopter and can put pressure on him early.
Does that mean they're looking at the Deucer or something like that? Because it kind of feels more like a counter ban right now, so they open up their own core.
I mean, that would change up their lane significantly if it was something like another hard carry. No, they actually go for the Death Prophet. Ooh, I love this one. So Death Prophet, I've been saying this a couple times. I really think the meta is going to turn towards Death Prophet. She's gotten a couple of buffs. The question is whether or not you have enough time to get the Death Prophet online, right? You usually need your level 2 ultimate before you're really ready to go. Even with the buffs to the level 1 ultimate, it's still not strong enough, I would say. Certain items like the Octarine Core and Lotus Orb are really favorable for the Death Prophet as well. All around, I think we will see more DP play in the future. But games like this will actually have a big impact in where we go. If Fnatic actually showcase, hey, Death Prophet is really viable hero, other teams will look to pick it up as well. But if they falter in the early game and Death Prophet doesn't get enough steam to get going, and Virtus Pro just crushed them in 20 minutes, then Fnatic obviously will show, okay, maybe Death Prophet, maybe not ready for it just yet.
Oh, I look at the mechanical sound part of it at least. Even if Fnatic do lose, I'd still see if Death Prophet is capable of winning in the lane and getting the space. With this VP lineup, yeah, they can add some pressure to it, but it's not the easiest gank in the world. And I really want to watch the movement of Fnatic supports, the Lina as well as the Rubik. For me, they can dictate just the pace of this game up against VP and potentially get some early kills on the Bounty Hunter, make sure he can't just jump himself inside of their jungle, leech out any experience when they're pulling or stacking or doing any of that kind of jazz. And also adding pressure onto the mid lane for Virtus Pro and ensuring that Leshrac doesn't get any kind of momentum. That is, of course, assuming Leshrac is that number 2 position for Virtus Pro. While they've still got one more hero to be picked up, they could throw Illidan onto the Leshrac, but they could just give him a bigger core that feel comfortable up against the Death Prophet with.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. I think they need something a little bit tanky. I'm kind of stuck on the Bristleback right now, but I really don't think he's the hero that would do enough work for them. First of all, you've got like a Darkseer mech that you have to keep in mind here, which is actually one of the other reasons I really love the Death Prophet pickup, because you have an offlaner, a core position, who's able to get a mech of the Death Prophet, which need something tanky or something, I guess, very split push heavy. Phantom Lancer, I mean, he's a pretty good hero to go for squishies, just because he throws illusions at the Death Prophet, right? I think we've seen Phantom Lancer against Gyrocopter multiple times as well, and it seems to be rather favorable, so I like this pickup.
Man, it's the hero too, which I look back to see what Alliance did with their Coddle as well as PL with a never-ending spam to bring down these safe laners. I don't know if they really have to run an aggro tri-lane with this. In fact, it probably is not the greatest idea in the world. But you pick him on melee to go up against like Ohio's Darkseer. You might drop him down low, but he can just sit back behind the tower, throw out Iron Shells, and still have some level of presence in the lane. They'll force PL to go into potentially the earlier Vlad's, getting those regeneration items up so he can survive inside the lane. It's comfortable for the mid game for them. It's great for dodging out a
Prepare
cold down.
for
As far as getting away from the Death Prophet, if you can avoid the silence from Death Prophet, the PL should have a pretty damn good time. And it looks like they are going to try and run this at least aggressive movement down bottom. I don't know how many people will stay down here though.
Oh, look what Ohio did. So first of all, he TP'd out to lane really early on, and second, he ate one of the trees and placed a counter ward right there to replace the tree. Now, the tree is actually in the middle of our grouping, so they won't actually notice that the tree is gone, and the ward is then in a place where it is very unlikely for it to be scouted out. I really like what Ohio is doing here, and he's just making sure that, okay, they're not going to have the opportunity to pull. I think Virtus Pro are probably going to be more reliant on roaming with their supports, particularly the Winter Wyvern coupled with DK Phobos' Bounty Hunter. I think they've got a huge amount of potential to shut down the Death Prophet early, and the Death Prophet is already bad enough against the Phantom Lancer that you can't afford to have her stalled up in the laning phase at all. This is why I was kind of looking towards the SF, because the SF at least has some sort of recovery mechanism to fall back on the jungle and play passive, but it's really dangerous against any kind of roaming hero like the Bounty Hunter, who can actually catch you out while it's jungling. So I can understand the Death Prophet. I think it's got a lot of good synergy here. They just have to make sure the laning phase goes well for her.
Well, they'll give it a crack, man. VP, they're going to actually switch this up into dual lanes for themselves. So it's a Bounty Hunter plus a Winter Wyvern. At least that's where FNG is for the moment. He can move up to the top. But that looks to be the two heroes on the bottom. That throws a little to the block in the mid lane. But that's so God can pick up the rune on top. He'll be playing the Leshrac. And that puts Illidan as the PL on the top lane. He'll be going one-on-one with Ohio as the Darkseer. Mushi will be that Death Prophet in the mid, already with the Bounty rune. So a nice little start for him. Kichik will be that Lina down the bottom lane with Johnny's Rubik, who has the greatest set in the world. I bought that set last night. I have no idea who made the set, but I got it anyway. And KOXY, Gyrocopter is the final one.
Okay, so look at our middle lane. You already have the possibility of Winter Wyvern coming in with harassment early on. The problem is going to be if they rotate too heavily into the middle lane, they're leaving a Darkseer solo against a melee farmer. And that is always a poor situation to put your carry in. So I think Ohio's going to be really effective no matter what, but they do need to try and keep him out from that level 2, level 3 area for as long as possible. As soon as he gets that, though, I don't think there's anything to stop him. They don't have any long enough disables to interrupt Surge. So once he gets to like level 2 or level 3, I think they have to just focus on some of the other lanes, because pretty much the Darkseer's gotten everything he wants, and you'll never be able to kill him.
What do you think about this bottom lane with the commitment from Fnatic? They had to burn 2 sentry wards just to get rid of the block ward that was down there, or at least the bounty hunter that was down there. And then you've got another sentry ward which was already planted up on top, which is meant to block up the pull point of VP. Is this a little bit too much expending money early on? Because you've also got Dust over on Johnny. You're using a lot of money on your supports to ensure that you keep this bounty hunter out of play, and he's already got 2.5 levels in 2 minutes.
So remember what Matt was saying about you want to just ignore the bounty hunter as much as possible if you can. That's really for the 4th position
kill him. They're able to get the first stun off. He was in range of the sentry ward. They throw him back in there too. Phobos, the homing missile's coming after him, and that's first blood going the way of Fnatic, and the bounty hunter is the casualty.
Yeah, I think as an offlane bounty hunter, you can definitely put a lot more of your golds into trying to shut him down as early as possible. On top of that, like the double counter wards make sure that they manage to get the pull off, which is really important for a support like Lina, who's a little bit greedier and more dependent on levels and even gold than most other supports. So this not only like shuts down the bounty hunter, but also makes sure that they get farm on their supports. It's I think a very worthy investment. If we're talking about a 4-position bounty hunter, I think that would be a different story.
FNG's patience. We're about to see if it's going to pay off or not, and nope. Johnny walks over and he will become courier, which means there's no way that bottle snipe. FNG's been sitting here for the last minute on top of the cliff, waiting for that little pick off of Mushi's bottle. But Mushi took so long to actually find the farm that he got it very, very late.
Well, Ohio takes a good amount of damage there in that top lane. He got super unfortunate.
They're coming in. They're going on Mushi, but are they? Oh God, they turn around with a telekinesis. They don't have enough damage. He wasn't underneath the tower for long enough. But FNG and God, they were meant to be harassing Mushi down, but it ended up turning the other direction.
Yeah, good. It was really fortunate there that FNG was the first one to take the tower aggro. If that had been God, they might have potentially killed God with the focus damage on just one hero. But yeah, this is actually going really well for Fnatic. I like the early rotation to pick up the bottle. They've kept the Bounty Hunter in that bottom lane. He hasn't actually tried to rotate middle as kind of what I was expecting. Between the Winter Wyvern and the Bounty Hunter, I thought they were really going to put a lot of pressure on the Death Prophet, but that hasn't happened just yet. So I think they're having a really successful laning phase, both for their... Actually, all three of their lanes are being won, I would say. The Darkseer is going to be able to put tons of pressure on that top lane, even if he isn't getting as much CS as you would like to see. They're just doing a really good job denying on the side of Virtus Pro. Their supports are getting levels, and the middle lane is being not won by Mushi, but at least he's surviving. He's suffering pretty badly in CS, but he's getting the experience he needs.
It's answering your question, really, with that Death Prophet. Can she get to a point where she has level 11 and is capable of doing something? Johnny's being watched by Phobos. Phobos is about to walk in range of a secondary sentry ward, and this is how he died last time. They pick up the throw back, they trigger off the dust with 2 waves they've got through both the Slave as well as that Crypt Swarm. The God stuns over on Johnny. He's got lightning in 1 second, but he's still stunned up too much. The lightning will fly out, he'll get the kill on Johnny, but the haste rune will not allow him to escape. You just lost 2 cores from Virtus Pro to pick off a Rubik underneath the tower, giving Mushi not only a kill, but also a support.
Oh yeah, that's huge. Like all of a sudden, Mushi goes from being like really terrible CS and just like getting experience out of lane to all of a sudden being the top net worth in the game, and also now being able to probably have the highest level in the game as well.
Still watching this top lane too for Illidan. So Mushi's had a great start. The Gyrocopter's looking absolutely fantastic for CS. So KOXY is feeling very, very comfortable. But the PL is still a big, big thing for me. Because Fnatic can get held back. They may not be able to get up on the high ground with never-ending illusion spam with them unless you're using Exorcism to clean that off. But, well, actually, you got your Slave as well as Crypt Swarm. That'll help you. But if this PL gets big enough, that won't be enough. And they don't have a great clearance without also committing Flat Cannon or something big like that. So...
One of the big things...
I want to watch him closely, Illidan.
Yeah, one of the big things is that the Phantom Lancer isn't really ready to fight. Oh, wow, another pickoff.
Yeah, they threw down another sentry ward. This time it didn't look like it was a dust trigger, but with the cold down, the flat cannon, as well as Fate Bolt damage, which is up at level 2 now. This is now the 3rd death for Phobos.
Yeah, this is really bad. This is what happens when a Bounty Hunter gets caught the first time. You have now validated the amount of gold the supports have spent on counter vision and given them gold to continue to do so, right? So every single time they pick you off, it's like, oh, we have more dust to be able to catch you out the next time. So this is just a rapidly like spiraling out of control situation for TK Phobos. So going back to it, oh god, probably not gonna be too fearsome.
Needed a couple more levels over on that leader before it would be a little bit more scared. But Phobos should definitely be mindful about that sentry ward, which is what's counted him out in the middle lane before. Problem is he's not 100% certain where it is, so he's very visible to Kijik right now. But the last time he got picked off, it was over in this area, so he could assume the sentry was just down here. But okay, now he most definitely knows. When you get de-watered on the river, you know you're being watched everywhere. And maybe that's a big thing we should also be flagging for Fnatic. These observers and sentries, they're everywhere they need to be to catch out Phobos.
TK Phobos does spot out the very big stack that is happening here. But at the same time, I'm not sure if Virtus Pro really have any kind of strength to be able to steal that one. Leshrac has the nukes to be able to go there, but I don't think they have the early game presence to make an invasion into the jungle. So that seems highly unlikely. TK Phobos just really needs to focus on getting his level 6. One of the good things is Ohio has actually been kind of sapped for experience. They've done a really good job getting all the denies. Look at the number of denies that Phantom Lancer has. 21 denies on him. That's pretty impressive. You even have 4 denies on the Witch Doctor. They've kept him zone out on most of the experience he's been pushing in with that Ion Shell, so he's only level 5. Considering how poorly the Bounty Hunter is doing in his lane, and the fact that they're about even levels goes to show that Virtus Pro are actually dedicating a lot to keeping Ohio back, and doing so rather successfully. So
but you can't do it forever though. Like Ohio is doing what he should be doing. He jumped in behind the tier 1 tower, he pulls the creep wave down, he goes up by another half a level, he gets to pull across. With the VP supports moving off the top lane, you don't have that level of control anymore. The Darkseer is going to catch up quick.
Dire's bottom tower
This is
under
rather
attack.
interesting. So Illidan's going for a very early Vlads, and is going to be trying to do kind of full-time
fallen.
jungle in order to free up the lane for his supports to pick up. Like, because he doesn't want to go up against 2 level 3 Ion Shells in lane anyway. It's very tough to deal with that. So if he's able to just full-time jungle and leave one of his ranged supports to get all that full experience in the top lane, it's a very efficient way of utilizing your core.
Just let him farm up, man. The Vlad's with it being done. Actually going to keep my eyes very closely on that Roshan pit. For now, it's just a bit of a call down bottom lane, but it's okay. But I'm wondering when VP can get in there. Like, we're not looking at a medallion of courage at all. Yeah, we're well away from that for Virtus Pro. So
Mushi just cleared through his stack. So he's now level 8 and has a good amount of farm.
we got a paralyzing cask in a moment for Ohio here. Illidan's got himself both Doppelganger as well as Lance available, but another surge is up for Ohio.
Yeah, there's no way he dies there. Unless God comes around with the haste rune, that could be exactly what catches out Ohio.
Yeah, that could do the work. Lightning into the corner, and then one quick pulse over to finish him off. That just seems too easy, man.
Yeah. In any normal situation, Ohio was completely fine with that aggressive movement into the jungle, but there just happened to be a haste rune picked up by God. Rather unfortunate situation for him. This is the second haste rune that's God has gotten in this game.
We got a homing missile coming into the middle lane. It could be absolutely hilarious if God was a little bit further forward, because it would have allowed the two smoked up heroes, both Johnny as well as Kichik, to come in and potentially kill him underneath the T1 tower.
Yeah,
not
level
expecting
6.
the homing missile to come.
The level 6 on Lena, they could easily pop a hero here. They maybe even tried to go for the very aggressive rotate around behind the tower. Sure enough, Johnny hoping to be able to find somebody
FNG
here.
shows himself. This could be it, but FNG, well, he does have wings, and he goes up the hillside over to the secret shop.
He showed himself, and Johnny almost caught him with the telekinesis. That was a super ballsy play. And Kitchik may be going down here.
Yeah, he's very, very low, but the surge is going to give him some space. Even the Fade Bottle to the illusion, making sure there's not enough damage to find that end kill. So Kichik will be able to survive.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, take a look at some of the rest of the team. I mean, the Phantom Lancer's free farming, but so is the Gyrocopter. The Leshrac has gotten a lot of farm, but Mushi's already made his recovery, not only with the one kill that he got, but as well as the hard camp stack. Ohio hasn't actually gotten too much CS, so he's not going to have a very fast mech, but it's still a Darkseer. Like, you can deny as much as possible, but eventually he will get a lot of farm, whether it's in lane or jungle.
He just needs a little bit of time with VP not adding any kind of pressure, which it really is a low pressure style of game, which isn't really fantastic for a bounty hunter. This is a guy that wants to always be up in the action, getting track kills, just moving from kill to kill. Illidan's kind of happy for that to happen too, because that gives him space to farm up. But Illidan almost feels like his hand's been forced to come down here into the Radiant jungle and get up in their face. But the TPs are coming to top lane. KOXY knows there's trouble. Phobos is right behind him. He gets both the hit out with Janata and that orb, slowing it down. The Light Striker 8 a little bit off target. It's not going to get the hit. The Laguna Blade God just tanks it up with the Magic Wand. And Lil going into the Death Ward finds the kill over on the leader, and the Lightning actually catching out the Gyrocopter over in the tree line. He couldn't TP out in time.
I was just about to praise Fnatic for their rotations on their supports. Every single one of them has been pretty much perfect timing, except for that one. That one was just about like 2 or 3 seconds late. They get that a little bit sooner, they would have caught the Bounty Hunter, blown him up, and probably just would have backed away for the kill. FNG, nice deny there in the middle lane.
Has to be really careful. Illidan could even go for this one. His ulti has still got another 2 seconds. So he wasn't going to get the heal in for it quick enough. But Illidan deciding not to doppelganger down would have run the risk of coming underneath the Lena's Light Strike array too.
Yeah, he would have actually been completely out of mana. If he'd used the doppelganger, he would have been like 10 mana away from the lance, and then at that point, he has to run it a little bit deeper. If he commits underneath the tower with no doppelganger, there's a good chance he dies. So probably wise for him not to commit to that kill. Looks like we're not going to be seeing any kills here for another minute or so. So I just want to talk about a little bit how I envision the mid game going on. Fnatic has, I think, have drafted themselves into a really good position. The Phantom Lancer, I think, was an okay pickup from Virtus Pro, which was kind of one of the only options that they had left. But he is very susceptible to mid game team fight pushes. And this is going to be one of the biggest downsides of Virtus Pro. Fnatic have this lineup where Death Prophet gets online about the time that Phantom Lancer is most susceptible to pushes. He basically is like a hero that can spam out some lances, but can't actually go for team fights, particularly against so much AoE. And he also, like the rest of the team, can't really stop this either. Bounty Hunter's really bad at dealing with pushes. Pretty much the best hero that they had to deal with it is Winter Wyvern as well as the Leshrac. Their spamming capabilities is the only thing that can potentially stop Fnatic from taking all the tier 1 and tier 2s by 25 minutes.
Keep my eyes very close here on the mid lane. You talk about taking tier 1, tier 2s by 25 minutes. Fnatic are already preparing themselves to come up to that top lane. They get rid of that Dire Observer Ward, so the vision is gone for Virtus Pro. And you got 25 seconds until you get the Death Prophet ulti back off cooldown, but there's just a little bit too much farm on the bottom lane and pressure coming in from the PL to just keep pushing on that top tier 2, because it would have been a trade-off at the end of the day.
Yeah. Illidan, he's actually trying to farm up. Oh, too bad Ohio didn't follow that missile. He could have actually forced Illidan to another hasty retreat. But yeah, going back to it, so the Phantom Lancer, he's not going to be a terribly good team fighter, nor is he going to be a terribly strong split pusher by that point. Like at 25 minutes, 30 minutes, he's not really a good split pusher that actually threatens towers. Like, he will split push, but he's not going to be the hero that's actively pushing down towers in exchange for your 5-man push. He can maybe threaten a tier 1 every now and again, but won't be able to really push in deep enough to take tier 2 towers quickly. So again, I think Fnatic will be able to take a lot of towers without trading away too much.
Well, towers or not, looks like they found Illidan over in the sides, but Doppelganger is such an easy ability to get out with. So he runs over towards the tier 2 tower, can push that one back out, where the creep wave's already arrived for Fnatic's lineup. And they just finish off the ancient area and even warded up, so they cannot get any more out of this. So the money really being controlled up by Fnatic, and still Illidan happy to farm on this bottom lane. He does not have Doppelganger available, it's only a level 1 Doppelganger. So he doesn't have a lot to play around with that. And Fnatic keep the pressure on. He's got a Doppelganger deeper inside the trees.
Meanwhile, they do have a top lane push. God just has level 1 Diabolic Edict, but he can take that tower if they leave him alone. So KYXY does make the rotation back, and Fnatic, I think they really could go for a 4-man push, but they're playing this, I think, a little bit more passively than they need to. They already have the Eul Scepter pick up on the Death Prophet. I think that's enough survivability to win out most of these team fights, even if it is 4 versus 5. Maybe they want to weigh out for the Darkseer to get his mech, as I'm presuming that's his next item after Arcane Boots. Then he can get the Guardian Greaves eventually as well.
FNG just de-warded up the Ancients, so they have that option for more farming. Downside for him is he didn't see the other Sentry Ward, which is in bottom river, so that Observer Ward stage will be numbered once Fnatic comes back up that way again. I suppose that's going to get you your vision.
Boy, KYXY.
What do we go for?
Is he going to be going for that early Sage that we see a lot of gyrocopters go for? The early Sage just to give you that buff in HP that turns into the SMY later? Or is he going for a really fast BKB?
It makes a lot more sense to go for the BKB. Because there's just so much stun and control which could just screw around with him a little. Okay, that's not going to work. He tried the death one up against Mushy with no stuns, no control, and well, there's not enough heal. Even with the one charge, just makes him work for it. But Mushy will get himself a kill on this top lane.
Bottom lane, Johnny may be picked off by DK Phobos, but he may not actually have enough damage. The Shuriken is only level 3, and sure enough, DK Phobos is very low levels. It means that he can't actually take down a solo support that he's found in the jungle.
He actually didn't have mana for it either. Threw out everything he had, and then there was nothing left to give. But the movement down the bottom lane, man, these sentry wards are everywhere. If you actually look at the line which is drawn across the bottom of the map, you basically got them running. These 4 sentry wards run all the way from Roshan down to the tier 1 tower in a perfect arc. There's just nowhere the Phobos can go that really helps BP. Like at this point, he only feels like a walking ward. Get track off, get some level of vision over on Fnatic, and that's his only job. The rest of his job is buying space for PL as well as Leshrac, making sure they're not going to get ganked. And that comes from the vision, which he's gaining.
Yeah, those mana issues that Bounty Hunter has is why you see a lot of Arcane Boots picked up, which actually turns into Guardian Greaves later on, because Bounty Hunter doesn't really need that much. Other builds usually include some sort of stat item, like drums is really popular.
Smoke. They're going to find KOXY, instantly putting him into the embrace, and Gyrocop doesn't want to be here. But the shards flying out, it's Liluz again, way too close to BP. But that was a 4-man smoke gate moving up through mid, and all they killed off was the Witch Doctor. But they're going to commit more for the tier 2 tower. The Iron Shards are still slowing down the creep wave, and there is fortification available here for Virtus Pro, so they can protect their tier 2 tower. It drags the creep wave back far enough, but they're not ready to fight. In fact, they have no intention of fighting. Leshrac has TP, but she's not coming back for this tier 2 tower. VP aren't ready.
Yeah, I feel like it's fairly obvious. Johnny, nice pick up there with the early Shadow Walk to be able to catch FNG, but still not enough disable to be able to get that pick off. I think it's fairly obvious that Virtus Pro cannot win fights right now, so I'm not entirely sure why they tried to force that small engagement there in the middle lane. But that one pick off turns into multiple.
Magic though. Yeah, he died really quickly. Johnny was thinking about helping him out, but now you got that diffuser blade over on Illidan. Johnny, he has the Arctic Burner, hence he can go up so high, but Illidan with the doppelganger is easily able to chase. Ohio's going to search him away, but the Purge is already available. Such a great hero PL up against something like a Surge on the Darkseer. Now Mushy tries to stand his own ground. The Iron Shell's there with the Darkseer back wall, nearly creates the chaos and the space for Mushy to escape back out of this.
Yeah, Fnatic, they shouldn't make that mistake again. So you notice after they took that tier 2 tower, they basically split their forces in half and were very spread out. They need to stay as a tight-knit group when they back away from taking a tower, because Virtus Pro do have really good chasing capabilities and excellent pick-off heroes.
Yeah, and they proved it. That Lena couldn't, I don't think, did she even get one ability off? Might have even been a slave, but that would be all.
She just got blown up by the improved Shuriken. I mean, it does 375 damage. It's pretty insane for a non-ultimate nuke. So they really have to be careful, particularly since it's not just the pickoff, right? Like, the pickoff is bad enough in normal games, but it's also the track gold that's going to go the way of Virtus Pro with those 2 different kills.
Yeah. And that could really just have to skyrocket up big items. And you have heroes like Leshrac that need a lot of money. PL, he loads a lot of money. You can farm it quickly himself, but sometimes you just need that space. And if Lil can stay alive for the fights, maybe he can also move quickly towards that Aghanim Scepter. For now, it looks like he's going more towards the Glimmer Cape kind of style.
I am super surprised by the way Mushi is building his Death Prophet.
The fact he's going in for a heart as his first item.
Yeah, I mean, he had enough gold, so he's like, okay, I guess I go straight heart from here. And yeah, once he completes the heart, it's going to be a gigantic upgrade for the Death Prophet. I just naturally, assumed it was going to be something like, Bloodstone is a very natural reaction for a Death Prophet.
Yeah, Bloodstone does seem to be a little bit more normal, but it's just if you're wondering if you're going to find enough kills. Okay, KYXY, he's in so much trouble. There's no mana to do anything, even with the bottom charges. Life Strike right, they back killing him back down again. KYXY is so low, Phobos needs to finish him off around the tree line. He's able to get the kill. They'll trigger the dust with the Laguna Blade. Phobos needs movement speed, and he's got it. Triggers a drum charge, runs himself away. A little bit further up, the paralyzing cask buying space for Lil. He could potentially turn on Mushi. There is no Yule Scepter available, but he's trying to reach the rest of his teammates who are pushing into the tier 1 tower. And Lil, I don't think God really wants to be here for this, but again, FNG plus Mushy under, and the paralyzing cask keeps back the rest of the supports, locks down the choke point, and Virtus Pro get out of that one. They kill off the gyrocopter without losing anything.
And TK Phobos is very rapidly building up some steam here as his bounty hunter, who's probably had one of the hardest early games I've ever seen a bounty hunter have. And all of a sudden, he's got phase boots, he's got drums, he'll now pick up an ogre club, so looks like he's actually going to be investing into a little bit more of a battle build on his bounty hunter. You see a lot of bounty hunters go for utility lately, with the Arcane Boots mech that I mentioned earlier, or a Blink Dagger is very common as well.
Oh, higher, he's dead. He's actually dead. Even with the mech charge available, FNG's right behind him with the shards off cooldown too. He's just got to throw it out once, but he can't get the attack in. 85 HP, Ohio will be able to surge himself away to safety. I thought they had Dead to Rise because there was no search available when they initiated.
Yeah, the Death Ward just not doing enough damage for so early on, particularly since the mech, not only the increase in HP, but also the armor buff, makes it so you're a lot tankier against that physical damage.
I'm still tossing up with Mushy with the whole heart versus Bloodstone thing. Because you see the PL illusions take off so much mana of his, and it regenerates at 7.5. Majority of that's coming in from the Yule Scepter.
Yeah, I mean,
oh, they're gonna kill Phobos. They'll drag him down too far though, because he's only just on the edge of the range of the sentry ward. I would really like to have that.
Who expects a counter ward there? I mean, let's be honest. That counter ward, especially since like Fnatic are taking pretty good control of the map for most of this game.
Yeah.
Who expects such a defensive counter ward? You can't really put much of a blame on
man. Like, Fnatic's been doing this for the last 10 minutes. They've been having a perimeter of sentry wards. If the bounty hunter comes into Fnatic's territory, they know about it.
Yeah. And again, that's that snowball factor I was talking about, right? Where if you give one kill away at the bounty hunter due to a counter ward, then they're then able to invest in the next set of counter wards, and they keep on just buying more and more counters, and they keep on finding those pickoffs on DK Phobos. So of course they're naturally just going to spam out as many as possible because they keep on getting their gold investment back.
So Mushi has a 23-minute heart on Death Prophet after picking up that Yule Scepter of his.
That's got to be a record breaker solely because he went for it first, like straight after the Yule Scepter. I'm sure that's somewhere in a top 10, top 5 area.
Just item choices. But where does he go from here? So you've got your heart up and running. Do you think, okay, I just build everything for late game so I can survive. Do you get something like Shiva's or Assault Cuirass? Is that the better way to go?
I think you definitely go Shiva's this game. It's a good way to be able to deal with the Phantom Lancer spam. It gives you some extra intelligence so you don't run out of mana against the Diffusal Blade spamming, as well as I think generally the increase in armor is going to be okay. It's not the greatest. Virtus Pro do have a decent mix between magic and physical, but I think armor is definitely going to be essential for Fnatic eventually, so you might as well get Shiva's next, I think, on Mushi.
I find it interesting. Well, FNG is going to put Mushi under, and looks like they want to try and have a crack at him. Little strike behind with the paralyzing cast. He can go into the death ward as well. Wants the space away from Mushi, but the death. Oh, wow. That wall came down. A doppelganger away from Illidan. He'll be able to survive on 100 and just a bit life. They do not find the opening. I'm surprised Lil didn't commit.
Again, I'm not sure about that initiation. I mean, it's Death Prophet who already has his ultimate out. I don't see any situation where
I think they were just there trying to
damage.
deny the tower. Like, create some space, deny the tower, but Death Prophet still destroyed the tower.
Yeah, I mean, that would make a lot more sense if they're just trying to go for the deny, but then they, like, had the Phantom Lancer positioned so aggressively. I don't know. KYXY may go down here in this top lane. He's going to be chased down by DK Phobos, but the mass TPs are the reaction now. Virtus Pro on the run.
And Phobos, okay, he's got Shurito stolen from him, but it's a runaway inside of Invis. They're already going to get back into their jungle, and Fnatic can't keep chasing this far.
Wow. I mean, can you get any luckier with Fnatic? Like, sometimes they're just placing down counter wards and finding wards at the same time. Like, they did it just now with the laning phase ward. They did it earlier with a ward being placed over here in the jungle very early on. Like, that was a super irregular ward from Virtus Pro, and they managed to catch it because they placed a counter ward to fight Bounty Hunter and just happened to find a ward instead. I mean, they're getting rather, they're doing a great job placing counter wards constantly, but they're also getting like a little bit lucky, I think, with their counter ward timings.
They're still burning a lot of cash for it. I know you said like you get a kill over on Phobos, you keep getting these counter wards, and it gives you the cash to keep buying sentries. But still, they're investing so much money all the time into this.
Yeah,
but is it even punishing their supports? Because I'm still seeing, like Rubik is, he's got Tranquils, he's got Wand, he's got a Bracer. 25 minutes in, it could be a lot worse for him. I'm looking at Alina, who's finished up a full, well, almost finished up a full Yule Scepter.
Yeah, I think it's really important that they can afford to just spam out counter wards on one of their supports, but not both. They do need to allow Kenji to make that transition into a core about 30 minutes in, so that Yule Scepter timing is going to be pretty key. He starts getting more kills and surviving through team fights a little bit longer. Then you have an Aghanim Scepter to lay down, which is going to be big against a Phantom Lancer and particularly a Leshrac that pure burst damage is pretty essential for winning a fight.
Fnatic, it looks like it's time for some sneaky beaky style play. They pick up the rune, but luckily there's no observer wall that's around there that's going to watch it from Virtus Pro, and they will quickly bring down the big man if they can do it. The trade-off's going to be the tier 2 tower on the top lane for Virtus Pro. They will be taking that one away from Fnatic, but you get Roshan, you get the Aegis Maul. There's a 130-second window where there is no exorcism available, so Virtus Pro might feel comfortable enough that they can try and fight this. The TP's coming back at the moment from the Gyrocopter. He might just do a defensive call down. In fact, he's just letting him run back. They do a little bit of shift damage to the tier 3 tower, but that's all they're going to get in return.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't... Illidan, I think, is a little bit more farmed than he should be. He hasn't died a single time. He's managed to be a part of a number of kills that have actually had track gold. So even though he's got 3 assists and only 1 kill, it's the track gold that it's actually boosted up his depth worth a significant amount. So I think he's just a little bit more farmed than he should be. And now is about the time, once you've got the Manta as well as the Diffusal Blade, that you're a significant split pushing factor, right? I said before that it was like 20-25 minutes. He's not that big of a deal, but because he's gotten some trackle, because he's got so much free farm, hasn't died a single time, he's now hit his like mid to late game items a little bit earlier than most, and this now means he will actually be able to always keep Fnatic looking behind them in a way, wondering, okay, what is the Phantom Lancer going to take in exchange for our push uphill? On top of that, God is also invested into, well, like now he's a major split push factor as well. Before, when you don't have the BKB, you can very easily be caught out by like one Rubik with Shadow Walk stolen from the Bounty Hunter or something like that to catch the split pushing Leshrac. But now that he's got BKB and Boots of Travel, he's another significant split pushing factor. So I think Virtus Pro can actually draw out this game enough that they'll be able to take it. I'm really concerned that Fnatic just won't be able to end the game now.
Well, they do have 2 items which can help them to do that. Like, you've got the Eul Scepter now over on the Lina, you've got your Mana Style done over on the Gyrocopter. So if they are considering pushing the issue up against Virtus Pro, they do have, well, the abilities in 15 seconds when you get the Death Prophet ulted back up again. Yeah, I think Fnatic are still ready to take the fight, and looks like DK, Phobos, the first one to come in close. Damn, there's so much damage on the Lina. With a track to Shuri Toss, and then with track over on Mushy, Eul Scepter up. Is there going to be the silence or the pickup? There's nothing. Phobos will just run himself away from this one. Ohio missing the back. They will throw down these sentry walls, but FNG, VP are just bailing the hell out of here. They don't want to fight. Illidan's taking the tier 1 tower in the mid lane in the meantime. He's going to doppelganger himself away to safety and send the illusions back in on top of KYXY. No mana to speak of. She might be concerned with KYXY in the later portion of the game that he won't be able to use things like, I don't want to say BKB, but like Satanic or even Mana Style. Triggering that off might be really difficult for him.
Yeah, this is definitely a game where he's going to have some serious mana issues, and Gyrocopter, even as a later game carry, is still pretty dependent on his mana. I mean, Call Down's pretty essential just for the slow, if not the damage. As you said, Manta, Satanic, those items coming into play pretty prevalently for a Gyrocopter as well. I mean, they just revealed the Blink Dagger at that bottom lane, didn't get anything for it, and almost lost their tier 1 tower in the middle lane. Fnatic are just not finding a hold on this game. Virtus Pro are just outmaneuvering them every step of the way.
Well, they're going to try again. Johnny, he's got the pick up over on Illidan. Illidan's pretty low, but and again, Mushy's not there on time. I thought he can get there and for the silence and stop Illidan from just doppelgangering away.
I dig that.
Because then you'd have the Laguna Blade directly after it, but
I mean,
they don't find the combos.
Yeah. Fnatic have an Aegis, and they're not even able to utilize it in an aggressive push. It looks like they're going to go all in for the top lane now, pretty much trading away that middle tier 1 tower in exchange for the tier 2 top lane.
You're probably going to lose your tier 2 tower mid as well, or have significant damage.
Or bottom. Like, God is already pushing down that tower pretty quickly, and he's got maxed out Diabolic Edicts, so...
Yep.
They actually have to go uphill with this, Fnatic. I think they have to go uphill and basically force this last fight.
Like, you lose half of your crew the second you arrive because of the shards that FNG just throws out when you come in. But then again, if you can get a pick up on him, maybe it's possible. Ball stuff away, FNG is in range of the call down as well as that Exorcism. Buyback is not available for the Winter Wyvern. But the tier 3 tower fortification is up. PL's looking for the tier 2 tower trader before he TP's back, paralyzing cast, mopping up the creep wave, and they don't want to fight it until an Exorcism is gone. But maybe with KYXY so close and so low, they're going to burn the Aegis, the Immortal already, but God picked up, Light Striker right down, and Laguna Blade, they'll go to the Death Warp in the back with a blinker from Ohio, cancels that one out, and it will be Fnatic taking up this top ranks. Melee as well, yeah, they still have enough damage to do it. Lil and Phobos are trying to make it difficult for them, but KYXY triggers the BKB, and they're going to take it. PL never came back. He took the tier 2 tower and brought the tier 3 tower down to half-life. So VP, they have a hole in their base.
I think Illidan did the best thing possible, and I think if Virtus Pro were all on the same page as Illidan, that would have been a decent victory for Virtus Pro. I don't think you actually beat Fnatic in that team fight pretty much no matter what, right? It would be Aegis and the power of the Death Prophet, level 3 Exorcism, like everything was just going to go their way. They just had the correct positioning. They saw the opening to be able to 5-ban push top real quickly, and they took it. Right, so I think you have to give up that set of racks, particularly with the initial pickoff on FNG. If God didn't go down in that top lane push and instead maybe joined Illidan for the middle lane push, they could have taken the tier 3 tower and given up their top laner racks. Yes, you don't want to give up a laner rack so early on into the game, but at the same time, you also are speeding up the end of the game if you try and fight Fnatic and lose the fight and lose your racks at the same time. I think they're just better off to essentially just farm as much as possible. The Phantom Lancer can't really go into that amount of team fight. Not yet, anyway. He needs just one more item, I think, and then he's good.
One big item for him. You can have another big item for the Leshrac. It could be Shivas. It could be the Assault Cuirass as well. Even the Witch Doctor wants a little bit more time. He's 2,000 and now just 2k gold away from having that full Aghanim Scepter upgrade for himself. And then Fnatic's team fight gets really, really bad. Now even maybe worse with Mushy getting diffuser bladed up. Illidan wants to keep the chase going with the Lances. He also will protect him for now, but the paralyzing cast bouncing down, but not across to Mushy. But they put him under, hold him in position. There's no attack here for Witch Doctor. He ends up getting just silenced up for the moment, but the PL illusions just keep fighting in. Time and time again, Illidan, he's got Doppelganger back up cooldown, the Laguna Blade not enough to kill off the Witch Doctor, and we do just have VP running away. The Voodoo Restoration buying some space, but they have to turn around for the Sun. Oh no, they don't. It's just a Doppelganger evasion. There is a call down. Illidan trying to keep the run going. FNG forces him up, and Mushy, the slow. God's coming in with the pulse over. Fnatic is so low. God can pop them all up. KOXY protected by his BKB. Illidan thinking about throwing in another lance. KOXY just going to TP himself away to safety. The Leshrac Sun's not in time. He's already finished the TP, and the BKB would have protected him anyway. But Virtus Pro, they chase down so hard. They get the pick up on Mushy and space created.
Yeah, this is what Virtus Pro have to do from here on out, because they've already lost one later rank, so they can't afford to lose a second. They need to be the ones who are always the aggressors. They need to be forcing Fnatic to utilize the Death Prophet ultimate in a defensive way. If they actually are left with another 5-man defense, what a vacuum!
3-man back into a light strike array. FNG is going to go down. The call down was a follow-up, and Witch Doctor trying to hide inside the Glimmer Cave, but it's not going to work for him. He'll end up getting picked off too, and they chase after God. Illidan still on the front lines. Doppelganger down and away. A couple of players still behind him, and they're going to keep chasing him past the tier 2 tower. Doppelganger in 2 seconds time. No mana star charges available, and he's going to get picked up. Doppelganger in time. No, he cannot do so. Lina will take the kill, and Virtus Pro, you said they had to keep doing this, but Fnatic punished them for doing that.
Yeah, Virtus Pro, I think, should have just been happy with the, they got the kill on the Death Prophet. That was big. Then they continue to try and force it uphill like that. You want them to be offensive, but that doesn't mean try and go uphill necessarily. It just means force fights outside of the Virtus Pro base. That's basically all you want. Even if it's just something small, like forcing them to use a BKB or an Exorcism being popped and then you back yourself away, it just gives yourself time, essentially. But now, after getting a little bit too greedy and pushing uphill, they're going to be left with that last team fight, essentially. This is the fight that could end the game and allow Fnatic to get into the playoffs.
It could be possible. Let's see if they can do it. Mushy comes up, and Exorcism, he's holding on to it for now. Noah's the one on the front lines with that Glimmer Cape. They only track up on one of the illusions, though. Mushy, the Ice Shards just chipping away at him, but he's got a heart in the Shivas. He's perfectly all right with this. In fact, just turns it on and goes straight for FNG. The call down, God can't stay close here. FNG's already down for the count. No buyback available. PL's alive in 2 seconds time, but God, he may be dropped, but KYXY, he had the damage. The suicide will be there from Lil Shrek. Instantly buys back into the game, and Lil, they're pushing them away from the ranks. They have to do this. Phobos right behind him. He's got a couple of them tracked up, can still keep going for these Shuri tosses if he wants to. But instead, they just ensure they keep the racks up, and they need to repair the top and bottom lane momentum as well.
Yeah, big victory there for Fnatic. They don't need to take that later back, so once they've forced out the buyback and taken that tier 3 tower, slowly but surely, right? They've got really good map control at this point in time. Roshan should be theirs for the taking, which again, they could put on the Gyrocopter, whose physical damage is now becoming just a sickening factor. Like before, they had really good team fight just because Gyrocopter outputs a lot of good mid-game magic damage combined with the Death Prophet's just overwhelming amount of team fight. But now, it's going to be our Gyrocopter because of all the pushes that have been successful, because of all the successful fights. He's already got Manta BKB and now an MKB at 36.5 minutes in. This is 575 gold per minute, not like an overwhelming amount, but it is a significant larger amount than you should normally see in a game like this. If Virtus Pro had just given up some fights, not jumped in nearly as much, maybe just given up that top laner racks, they could have kept the Gyrocopter to a more reasonable amount of farm. But now the Gyrocopter is to a point where he will take over the game with just purely his physical damage.
Yeah, he's gonna shred him apart unless you got the life to survive. I am still, however, seeing, like, even with the Bloodstone, Leshrac now has a Soul Booster and the Plate Mail on top of himself. So getting through God's Life, even if he doesn't complete his items, he's still got a lot to work with. The downside is just as long as you get the PL, when the PL disappears and there's less to tank up what the Jara is dishing out, as well as the Lina and the Death Prophet.
Yeah. This is about the time. Like, Virtus Pro need to quickly push out this top lane and then smoke up and try and force a fight somehow in Fnatic. Again, like, just force the fight, like, poke at them, try and force out a BKB or an Exorcism or something like that. Contest Roshan as best you can, because if you let them take Roshan and you let them 5-man into your base, you're done for. Like, once you've got a Death Prophet set up with Exorcism on top of your Raxes, you're forced into a fight you didn't want to take. Virtus Pro have much better, like, in and out team fights, particularly with the Phantom Lancer. That's one of the best aspects of the Phantom Lancer, is he's so hard to lock down, and he could just throw illusions after illusions into you.
The timing, the smoke into smoke. Mushi's going to come forward, and the pick up. They've already said the Witch Doctor off the corner in the perfect position. Mushi wants another, but his Exorcism still went up. But Mushi dying so quickly, but he's not dead. Now he will finally drop. It's a Witch Doctor for that Death Prophet. And FNG and the rest of Virtus Pro, they're on the chase. They come and held out God. Laguna Blade from Kichik will be able to bring him down. And Johnny, stuck on top of the hillside, blinks himself out this one. And Illidan, well, okay, he's supposed to get accountable by doing what he just did, but the double buybacks are coming in from Fnatic. With this kill, with this fight, now they're just going to go for Roshan, but they don't have Exorcism. The damage output all has to come from the Gyrocopter.
I mean, they forced out a buyback from the Death Prophet as well as the Darkseer. Fnatic, that's probably one of the best plays they have, because they need to end the game soon. And with those buybacks, they can take Aegis and be in such a superior position to be able to just end the game from here. It's a little bit risky, but I think it's well worth the risk, because if they just win one more fight, the game's over.
Yeah. That's still going to be a hard ask. Virtus Pro, while yes, they don't have buybacks showing up for a lot of their heroes, 3 of them are still only 200-ish, or under 200 gold away from getting there. That's the Winter White, PL, as well as the Witch Doctor. You should be able to claim that much amount of money during a team fight anyway. So Winter Wyvern's already got his up. So if Fnatic do want to force this, they won't have the numbers advantage. And speaking of numbers advantage, Witch Doctor just amplified his damage so much. The Academ Scepter for the level 2 Death Ward is now available for Lil. So Fnatic have to be careful coming in close. It means Lil can sit a lot further back. You're not going to get that Light Strike Array or the Eul Scepter from the Death Prophet close enough to him. And maybe it's even worthwhile for Ohio to watch out for that Witch Doctor. That's obviously he doesn't know it's coming, but if he finds out, you'll have to look for him.
Yeah, it's something. It's not going to be enough to win a fight for sure. Fnatic
if
still
it's
has
a level
so much
3
to
Death
stake.
Ward, then maybe, but at this point in the game at least.
I mean, there's some significant factors. Like, they have a huge amount of armor. Look at the Death Prophet. She's sitting on 22 armor right now, thanks to the Sheamus pickup with 2,300 HP. That increases another 15 armor when she gets below 15 or below 20% HP with the Guardian Greaves. So, like, a lot of this physical damage is coming out from Virtus Pro. It's just not going to mean too much against Fnatic's heavy armor and heavy sustain lineup that they have.
Right.
So.
They just racked up even more damage. The Laguna Blade upgrade is now arriving. It's an Aghanim Scepter over on the leader. The full thing now 40 minutes in.
Nice.
And she just cracked level 16 as well, 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's... Okay, so that's basically over a third of the Leshrax's HP. So even if he runs in with BKB popped, they can actually threaten the Leshrax with just the physical damage of the Gyrocopter as well as the pure damage of the Lina really quickly. Like, the Leshrax is going to have to play pretty careful when it comes to positioning. You can't just YOLO on in there right now.
Yep. That's also he's got a buyback. They'll bring him back to the fight. You're short of that by time as well as money. 1,000 gold in the 1 minute and 40 seconds is all that's left for him.
Yeah, it's such a bad position. Virtus Pro are one item away, I think, on both of their cores to be able to win fights, but they don't have it yet. They need the Scotty on Phantom Lancer to increase the HP, and they need the Octarine core on Leshrax, but they don't have it. I don't think they can win this fight.
Well, here they start up already. Mushi. First one to be attacked. There's still a lot of tracks coming in from the back lines. That's the effective Phobos. Just keeping tabs on everyone from Fnatic. So VP have all the information they require to try and take these fights. They know where Fnatic is jumping. But Fnatic with their lineup can also just walk up the hill. So the information doesn't really gain them that much. Phobos. The track is down. Johnny with the pickup. He's going to try and throw him back in again, and maybe they have enough control. Phobos triggers the BKB, and actually all 5 players from Fnatic try and chase up on top of the hillside after him. This is fine. It's still buying time for VP. Fnatic don't really care, though. They got all the time in the world. They've still got the top lane pushing in. God's having to expend mana to even get rid of this. Mana which he won't have during this team fight.
Yeah, Phantom Lancer actually needs needs to go back to the base just to be able to get some mana to spam out more lances. Fortunately, again, like the combination of Leshrac as well as the Winter Wyvern means they practically burst the creep wave before it gets
Sentry
uphill.
ward down, they're going to throw him back in. Bounty Hunter has no BKB this time around. He does still have buyback available, so you can bring the Bounty Hunter back to the fight. But that's all the Fnatic could find as a pickoff.
Man, if they manage to push back the Fnatic here, at any point, Illidan has a Scotty.
Bushy comes forward, tries to go to town right now. The Fuser Blade's already on him, and Bushy, can he tank it up? Illidan, way too low, doppelganger. He's going to get himself away though. 200 life points, they'll put him back on it so he can come back in the fight, but FNG practically killing himself next to KOXY. The Death Ward's going to work, but not enough damage. The back ward's causing too much chaos. Burst Pro with a lot of trouble, but the Death Ward actually still stays up the entire time. Does considerable damage to Fnatic just because of the duration of it, and Mushy may not be able to escape from this one. Try and turn around. He's down a half life. The mana burst doing some work. They keep those the shrapnel charges coming out from FNG. The charge is flying the way of Mushy, mopping up the creep wave, lowering the hero life, and Mushy barely lives on 300 HP. They still did not kill off the melee racks. And what did Burst Pro lose? A buyback on the bounty and a buyback on the Wyvern. That's all.
Not too bad, except for the fact that God died. If God had managed to live through that fight, it would have been a huge victory. But now, like, Illidan still doesn't have the opportunity to be able to pick up his Scotty. That stat increase is so critical for him. You saw, he practically got bursted down with just a small bit of hold, as well as the Light Strike Array. Light Strike Array and the Laguna Blade.
Johnny jumps up, gets a pick up on Illidan. Ohio backing back in FNG as well as Lil. Has a stolen Death Ward from Johnny, being pumped into Furnace Pro. They've lost their melee ranks in the mid. God's still on the sideline. And well, PL has to heal up, so Fnatic, successful push. They will take out the second lane of racks now, and they're moving for the third. They're coming for the final GG push. They want to get up into that semi-final. And what does PL do? The only thing he can, he buys a Basher. He buys control. He's still 400 gold short of having a buyback available, so this could be costly, but he's just looking for anything he can to control up, give some damage to stop Fnatic. But Illidan being picked up, back in. 3 players together. Illidan getting stunned up. The Monkey King bar charges. Illidan's still going to rocket behind him. He's actually dodging the magic missile damage. Not the magic missile damage, the flight cannon damage. So Illidan's able to get himself away to safety, but Mushy continues to chase on God. But they just want the push on bottom. 18 seconds to Exorcism.
Dire's bottom tower has
Fnatic
fallen.
at this point in time,
They're leaving.
I don't think they need to push it. Like, they could have just gone all in to try and get that set of racks, but I think it's unnecessary. The Phantom Lancer would have been coming back soon with full HP, full mana. Like, they just had a huge victory. They have so much gold waiting for them back at base. Like, Lotus Orb just picked up just straight from Ohio. So now they can put it on the Gyrocopter and have him sit on the front line. Same goes with Mushi. You've got a BKB on Mushi now as well. I mean, what do you do? If there's a Lotus Orb and BKB activated on Death Prophet who goes uphill with an Exorcism, the only control you have is Winter's Curse, but you can't afford to Lotus Orb, Winter's Curse on Lotus Orb. So they actually have nothing to stop the Death Prophet once she gets set up. So Virtus Pro has to get offensive. Like, they have to go for a fight now and surprise Fnatic in some way.
It's almost impossible to do. They're being watched. The sentry wards are inside the base. When the creep waves push in, you're going to know when VP is left. So the second they come out, well, I say the second, they will maybe be able to create like a 10 to 20 second window where they can move out of their base without Fnatic really just cottoning on to what they're attempting to do. Or they try and fight them face to face. You do have a buyback over on the track. PL's got his in 150 gold. So you do have the you do have 2 buybacks on the course. That's one upside.
Look at this ward positioning, by the way. FNG placing this ward could be critical for being able to get vision of this downside here. In seeing his Winter's Curse, he's probably going to try and Winter's Curse in through the side by using Arctic Burn to fly in, and then the Force Staff. If they get a really good Winter's Curse and they follow that up with the Witch Doctor, his Death Ward, they can win the fight, but they really need to get the initiation before the Death Prophet has Exorcism, BKB, and Lotus Orb, and it's pushing uphill.
We have a lot of ifs with this.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really the position of VP though. Like, they're so far behind in gold as well as experience. They know they don't have the items to keep up with Fnatic, and Fnatic, their composition is just working perfectly at the moment. So how do you even stop them? That's the question, which, like, you're answering right there. You need to have that perfect setup. And Fnatic aren't giving it to them. In fact, it almost looks like Fnatic are just 100% ensuring that they don't get eliminated right now, and they just wait for Roshan. That's the goal. But they're waiting almost a maximum 3 minutes, so it's just above 2.5 minutes before it's going to spawn up.
I'm not sure if they, I mean, backing up earlier I think was fine. Like, everybody, okay, just heal up, we'll get the exorcism, and then we can go in. I'm not sure if waiting for Roshan is really their play. It just basically gives VP the time to get that next set of items. We already see the Octarine core picked up by Leshrac.
He doesn't have buyback though, so God has basically sacrificed his buyback for this. And what else are you really looking at? Like, what can the PL actually buy? Picking up the Skadi, is it enough to buy the Skadi and sacrifice your buyback?
I think so, because you're in a situation where even if you die and you come back with your second life, it's too late because your Raxes have gone. Right, so you have to win that one fight. You can't afford to, like, go in, die, buy back, go in again. Because even just the small amount of distance it takes you to get from the fountain to your Raxes, the Raxes are already gone. Even if they're not gone, they're low enough that Fnatic just make the all-in play to commit to the Raxes, even if they do die. And then you have to push in against Mega Creeps to a team that probably has buyback.
Right, Phobos, I was a little bit worried he's going to get picked off in the mid lane. It's moving down a fair way, but the only person with a gem is the Darkseer. He's hitting fairly back in at least the positioning in lane to try and find these kills. They've still got another minute and 10 seconds to wait for this. VP is getting so much money while they're doing this, because what's Fnatic doing? You're farming up a couple of camps here and there, but this line's going to start to flatline after a while. Sure, the creeps aren't worth as much as they used to be, but still, you're finding your progression, you're slowly getting there. You're fine with this if you're Virtus Pro, because they've also prepped Perfect Vision. You talked about the ward over on the right. They came back out again, threw down an Observer and a Sentry. So if Fnatic do throw a Sentry up there and get rid of that, they're actually going to be very much aware that, well, actually, Fnatic won't be aware that there's another ward on the side. They'll think, well, that's the only vision that VP committed to watch us. They may not be looking for it.
Illidan may just make the full committal to Discipline. Like, he's very close.
No, he just bought the Skadi.
He goes for the Skadi instead. I think that's a better item choice, but with the, like, kind of odd choice to go for the Basher instead of completing out the Skadi, I think he just, like, he needed to pick up an item, essentially, and he couldn't get to the secret shop to finish up Skadi, so he goes Basher, which then leaves him with the buyback still. But now he's fully committed, has his Skadi. He's up to 2,700 HP. That's a significant upgrade from where he once was, right? That's why I said Skadi was so important, because before he was sitting at like 1,900 HP.
Mushy should use himself right now. He's got to get this track off him. One, because they're able to watch how much gold he's got, so they're understanding what position Mushy is in. But two, they want to go in and take Roshan. So Roshan is up, Roshan is available. Illidan's the first one coming down, throwing out lances, just harassing them out, and Illidan is just walking into the pit. I think he'll now realize they're a long way behind him. Takes out the Observer Wall as they threw down an extra sentry. Fnatic are just, they look like they're so scared. Illidan, you can't do this by himself.
I mean, he can do it by himself. It's going to take him a little while.
They're coming.
And he does have Doppelganger to be able to get away.
I think he's almost trying to force him to come inside the pit. Phobos picked up, going to throw him back down again. That's that vision there for Phobos, taking up so much. Can he even do more with that BKB? They actually locked up KOXY. Lures the full duration of it. The cooldown's still going to come in. That'll kill him off. And there's 3 heroes down for Virtus Pro. There's just too much strength for Fnatic. Or can God burn through it all? He's right in the middle with the Pulse Nova. No, he can't. A triple kill for KOXY. The only man left alive is Illidan. The Doppelganger away from the stun, but he's already controlled by the telekinesis.
That's
the
it.
full team wipe. This will be Roshan for Fnatic. The tier 4 tower's already been brought down, and it looks like GG.
Yep, that is completely GG. Not a single buyback on Virtus Pro. Fnatic just read that the right situation, right? Phantom Blister was essentially trying to force them into the pit where they could maybe get some sort of counter initiation, or at the very least they jump out with the Doppelganger, but instead Fnatic went straight for the heroes that were waiting on the